For you to put it on full screen?
I'm not so sure because I
You can
will.
use this slideshow.
Yes, but then I lose everyone. But it's okay.
Okay. So you don't see us.
No, but it's
Okay.
fine. No worries.
Okay. And in that case, you can just kind of minimize on my notes.
Maybe Kostas, can you please mute yourself?
Okay. I think we should be good with this.
Mm-hmm.
Are we good now?
I think so.
Okay.
If you
Can
see
I
my
start?
screen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. I can. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So a bit about Aalto University. Aalto University is an interesting place where we have three main schools like engineering school, business school, and design school coming together. And that is really interesting part for me personally to look at, how we can do collaborative work. So just briefly about myself, that I'm an associate professor at School of Arts and in the media department of media. Recently, we kind of changed the structure a bit, and then now my department is art and media. Um, and my specialization and focus area is information design and data visualization. And in media department, we always try to kind of find new collaborative ways of working in a multidisciplinary way. So, okay, next slide, please. So that was a nice picture from summer, but actually we look like this in winter days. Next slide, please. This building, so as I said, Aalto Arts is quite active in a collaboration with quite many public organizations and private institutions, actually. And in Department of Media, we try to kind of combine a multidisciplinary way and find new ways of information dissemination or communication. Next slide, please. And one unique thing about our school is that we have quite extensive workshops, which is very much housed in our premise in itself, actually. So we always kind of try to encourage our students to explore all these hands-on workshop while they are doing their projects. So it is really good to have all these facilities within one premise. And even during pandemic time with limited access, the project I'm going to talk about today was realized during pandemic time. So with all the limited resources in terms of access to workshops and all of this, we could manage to produce the installation of this project, which I'm going to talk about in more detail. Okay, next slide, please. It is really interesting phenomena with numbers and emotions. So and emotions can be essential to making judgment about information or data and convey meaning of numbers to motivate action. Next slide, please. As Paul Slovic, professor of psychology, points out that how are we having statistical numbing So statistical numbing is a psychological phenomena that causes us to feel indifferent to the suffering of large number of people. Why I'm bringing up this point here, when we talk about air quality, there are some similar issues, because when we talk about air quality in numbers, um, uh, the sense of closeness to the issue is kind of missing from the communication part. So this phenomena uh, of how we should value human lives and how do we actually how do we actually value, it has a difference in the whole compassion level. So this kind of thought really motivates us to kind of go beyond numbers and then try to kind of bring emotions into numbers. Next slide, please. We have seen some examples by, for example, New York Times has been experimenting with how to communicate about pollutions in different cities. Next slide, please. In comparison between different cities, and it gives you real-time information um, about where you are located, and it can offer you possibility to compare with other cities. Next slide, please. So the the simulation of air quality uh, uh, becomes crucial to understand go more closer to the topic. So we can, and I think this particular example has a mobile app as well, where you can open your mobile app and then see your surrounding and then see the particles in that. So it goes more closer to have better understanding. Next slide, please. And we have also seen um, one research in Reading University about visualizing. This was done by Professor Ed Hawkins, and it became very popular when he tried to kind of visualize global temperature from that specific period. And then this particular place is also kind of interesting, where you can switch the region and then see what was happening in that region. So when you see it in a larger scale, larger timeline, then you kind of understand the reality of what is going on. Next slide, please. So we have been at Aalto University, we have been trying to collaborate with various different partners in trying to dig into the available data, and see how we can make better communication through using those data. And one of our project with Helsinki Design Museum, to visualize a collection of museum collection over a period, to see how the gender equality plays in the museum collection. On the one side, and one side you have how museum collections are happening from different kind of material, let's say glass or textile. And then on the other side, we try to kind of make the museum collection in a tree visualization with the tangible objects, so that people can connect with data and the museum collection. Next slide, please. So here, another approach we tried working with City of Helsinki, Helsinki University, um, and then coming up with a data sculpture to put it up in a public space, to have better communication about this indoor air quality. Next slide, please. So as I kind of already iterated, that at media department, we try to kind of have a multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary approach. And so in this particular project, we had sound design students as well as visual communication design students working together to come up with air quality data into music, and music combined with visualization. Next slide, please. So in Helsinki, this MegaSense project is happening, and they have really good quality data sets available in form of API. So it became quite handy for us to dive into all these APIs and then see how we can convert this air quality data into tangible forms. Next slide, please. So our design approach was to highlight efforts by various stakeholders in this particular project, which Mall of Tripla is one very busy shopping complex recently constructed in the center of Helsinki, and many different partners came together to set up this infrastructure for collecting data, air quality data. So basically, we wanted to communicate communicate healthy climate in the shopping area, and the visitors of this shopping area can see this data in more experiential way and discover indoor air quality. Next slide, please. So we kind of got data from various different sensors and various different data sets, air quality, noise, and air pollutants. Well, there were multi-object tracking data also, but we did not use that. Movement data and indoor and outdoor movement data was also available to us. Next slide. But we selected to this 4 specific data set in order to convert our data into sonification sculpture. Next slide, please. So in the first iteration itself, we try to kind of find what is there in the data, and we immediately realize that there is a kind of circadian pattern in the data that 24 hours similar things are happening and then going down, going up and down, so almost like a circadian pattern. So then immediately we started thinking about how we kind of connect this to breathing exercise, breathing phenomena. So and the heartbeat kind of phenomena actually. So we kind of call this as a pulse of Tripla. And what you see on the screen is 3 days data sets. We try to kind of see it in a visual form and plot it with the different color, different data sets. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this was also important because important for visitors and people from city, because there's a lot of construction happening and people are worried about the air quality situation in that area. So in other ways, also to kind of ensure that air quality, indoor air quality has proper standards. Next slide, please. So we wanted to create immersive experience for spectators, and also spectators can control with their movement. They can control what they see and what they hear from the data set. Okay, next slide, please. So we kind of embarked on the journey of creating rhythms from the air quality data we got by controlling tempo of the sonification, by moving. We kind of embedded sensors, movement sensors in that, so people can view data sets in a different time frame. Next slide, please. So this is how the installation looks like. On left-hand side, we kind of explained about the air quality data sets we are using, and also explain the concept behind this interaction, this sculpture. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see here in this picture that a person can move between the sculpture and the space, and by moving between in between space, a person can see different time of air quality. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, further, one more. Can you click on this? Do we have sound? Can we get sound?
That's going to be more tricky. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so basically in this video, we are trying to explain that how data sculpture is going to work and how people can interact with this data sculpture, and there are different time factor. And we have this data sculpture has a clock-like interface. So it explains that if you see data here on this stage, it is this particular time period, and then you can move between this, and then you can see it. Yeah. So I'm just sharing this whole process of how we kind of collaborated with the city and the infrastructure people from infrastructure, because we had to communicate about our idea. So this was pretty much like a demonstration idea that how we will be doing, because there are a lot of other factors to realize this kind of installation in a public space. So we had to take everybody along with us in this whole process. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so identifying location, which location should be ideal for putting up for public interface. There's a lot of negotiation with the infrastructure people, authorities that, what we can do, what we can't do, where we can put. But some of the specific sensors data we were using were close to the location where we wanted to put up this in order to make the um, whole concept more close to people, that where you are standing, we are talking about that particular area, air quality data of that particular area. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to share a bit about the data sculpture in making. Next slide, please. So how we embarked on this journey of creating visualization and realizing the whole installation. So we started with creative visualization experiments. We looked at the data, what is in the data, kind of combined with the musical notations. And then on the other side, we started looking at the hardware, that how do we realize, because we had a challenge that it's a circular visualization form we want to create. So it was a challenge to kind of create a display of a circular form. So, okay, next slide, please. So as I said, we started looking into data using Python libraries, and we use certain softwares for converting data into sound, um, um, and trying to see what would be the best way to communicate what is in the data. Next slide, please. Yeah, this will be challenging without sound because this is a sound sculpture. I'm sorry, but we don't have sound. So basically we started looking at the data, also experimenting.
Maybe Nuria, if you try sharing the presentation again, and right after you start sharing, you should see the option to include sound.
But maybe looking at time, it's okay at this stage. Maybe the last one video which I want to share probably has more kind of connection to sound. So that's fine for now, maybe. Yeah. So, okay, next one, please. Yeah, so yeah, this one is purely sound. I'm so sorry. So we kind of did a lot of experimentation with sound, that how our soundscapes are more closer to, can go more closer to perception of air quality. So we experimented with different soundscapes, different kind of instruments of music, as well as we kind of generated sound from the environment itself, so that people can connect with that. Okay, maybe I'm going to share this presentation with everyone, so you can do it yourself on your a later stage, on your own as well. So yeah, that's basically process of how we kind of did the zonification with embodied control, like how human controls in between. Yeah, so we can go further with this. So this is how we kind of looked at the data dimension and what style we applied to that data dimension and what kind of instruments we used in our final iteration, actually. And also, of course, in sonification, you can, by adding different aspects of sound and music composition. So like feeling of humidity, feeling of TVOC particles. We try to kind of connect to the feeling of all these elements into this this musical exploration, actually. Next slide, please. Yeah, there are some pictures about how we went about creating the circular circular display. So these are like specialized, specially designed for this particular display. We ordered LED for our purpose, and all of this is happening middle of pandemic. We were not sure whether we will get all these orders coming from China all the way. But it was quite interesting to see that we could realize all of this. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, this is again with the sound. Okay, maybe we can probably save some time for discussion, you know, because if we don't have sound, it doesn't convey much, actually. So we will skip this one as well. Yeah. So in our iterative process, we wanted to look at each and every data set. And as I said, we wanted to kind of bring the feeling of each data set and communicate to individuals when they are experiencing this. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is kind of our process flow, that how it went between different software parts and how we use the data and the sculpture. Next slide, please. Okay, this one also has a sound and pretty much like a last iteration of our sculpture. Yeah, good. So this is how we kind of put it up in that particular shopping complex for interaction, and we kept this. We initially decided to keep this sculpture for 3 months, but eventually the administration from shopping complex, they were quite excited about how people were interacting with this and how people were using this. So they extended for almost 8 months, and now it is back in our labs. Okay, that's it. Maybe I will just stop here. Thank you. Unfortunately, we did not have sound and also all the technical problems, but I hope you will have a look at it on your own with this link.
Thank you, Rupesh. So do we have some questions? Kostas, please.
So thanks, Rupesh. A couple of questions from my side. First of all, Did you have the chance to analyze the experiences of the people that visited and interacted with the digital sculpture? So one of the things that we are very much interested in as a group is whether this type of, let's call it naively, if you like, alternative ways of presenting information related to the quality of the environment surrounding us might be more effective in terms of bringing into surface the problem, creating awareness, creating, let's say, a central mental way of understanding things. Did you have the chance to analyze this in any way?
Yeah, this is really good question. We wanted to do that by collecting data and surveys from people. But unfortunately, due to pandemic situation, because as I said, it was in the middle of pandemic, there were a lot of restrictions. But having said that, we have at least we have data about people how many people used it and how long they used it, like one person used it, and so we have that kind of data to analyze. So of course, we would like to extend our study and take it to the next level. And that's where, our next project, if it happens, would be really quite good to test out those kind of things, actually. Yeah, but of course it has, City of Helsinki announced it in their website, and also some journal, some newspaper articles about this incident. So of course we can broadly understand that people were interested and they got enlightened by this fact, but measuring it in a correct way, we haven't done that actually as yet.
Yeah, maybe I can ask a question. Do you, because you said you have been, you have some data on the people that has been using it and how long the interactions. I'm curious about, do you see a cultural pattern and a sociological difference in who is using this type of sculptures? And I'm meaning, like, for example, like different different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, or like women, or like more educated, like what I mean, right? Like, Rupesh,
Yeah.
do you see that in?
Well, as I said, we haven't done the proper data collection, but general observation was that school kids and young generation was quite excited. Most of our users, in fact, administration from shopping complex also told us that it was most kind of the young people was really kind of attracted to whole, because it was installation, it was music, and they were like, it was interesting phenomena the way they were interacting with it. So they just jumped onto it without even reading, knowing.
Yes.
And then they felt, oh, this is so interesting. And then they went back to see, what is this information? So they went back again. So this is what we observed, from yeah, but we don't have like scientific data about how people interacted and all of this. So yeah, of course.
It's very interesting. Yes. I think, like, of course, the new generations are more familiar with technology, and like, as you say, like, I think they jump into it and then they read after, like, but it's interesting.
If I may comment on this before, let's say, passing the floor to the next questions, I think that this is something that maybe, or I must admit that I personally feel that I have missed. I mean that I was trained academically as let's say, a representative of a generation, firstly to study and then to act. I think that our students already have demonstrated, and I'm noticing this, they jump into things, they experience things, and then they learn. We were told that it should be in the other way around, you know. So this is how we were trained when we were children. But we see this in our students. So I think that this is a crucial, let's say, not detail, it's a crucial point of how we should communicate scientific information to allow people to jump into this in any way possible, whatever this means. And this is where we need experts in the field of how should we jump into this digitally.
First, maybe someone has other questions or remarks.
If I may, or Linda is also...
Yes, Hester and then Linda.
Okay, yeah, I'm very intrigued by your presentation, and I will check out what it's like with sound, because I think we are missing the main part here. I'm very intrigued that you combine noise measurements and air quality measurements. So this is very interesting. And I'm also wondering, you used it now to measure the inside environment, but could you also use it in the outside?
Yes, very much. Yeah. Only for practical reasons, you know, we considered inside air quality. Yeah, multiple practical reasons being in Finland. You know, like weather conditions and everything is quite challenging. Yeah. Sorry, what was your other question?
No, that
Noise.
essentially
Okay.
was my question. Are you going to try that in more places, or how are you going to continue?
Yes, definitely. Because now we have the structure ready, so we can plug in, you know, new data set in it and put it also in a different location. So that's our intention, that we kind of put this in a different location, but we always want to kind of have contextual data, so that, you know, people don't feel distant, that okay, this is happening somewhere else, but if they see it that this is happening here and this is where you are standing, then it makes much more, you know, sense for the onlookers, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, please.
Yes, Mr. Vyas. Thank you for your presentation. Members of the...
Linda, can you speak a little bit closer to your microphone? It's very loud. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit. Speak louder.
Okay. I have two questions. One is, your presentation reminded me of a project in Eindhoven where a doctor tried to make photos of people's blood vessels in the neck, because he said if people live near highways for many years, you can see it on the photo of the quality of the blood vessel, that it's a bodily reaction. And you show the sound to experience, I think, the air pollution, which you cannot see. Do you think that sound is the best way to translate the experience for people of the air pollution into sound to people? Because I think that's even indeed more, like Costa said, coming into to people understanding it than seeing photos of scientific data. This is, and the second question of me is, actually it's a comment. In Nijmegen, in the city where I'm a teacher at the university in spatial planning, I must say, we will have a Twilight Festival this October, where the artists make it. This year, the theme of the Twilight Festival is air quality and climate. And they invite artists, scientists, and also music composers to create sculptures. So I'm going to ask you if you are willing to be linked to one of the sculpture projects just as advisor, maybe just once for an interview, because I think your example is very good as inspiration. I'll put in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the intention to be here, actually. In fact, this is nice to have a kind of see that what's happening in other parts, and if we can do something together. So of course, this would be a great thing to do. I think your first part you mentioned about sound, and is it really good for air quality communication? Well, sound has this quality of touching your soul, pretty quickly. So and that's what we try to do. Like we try to convert, not like noise, but kind of. So there are quite a lot of efforts where you see sound, like data converted into sound, just sonification. But we go beyond sonification, and we try to make try to add emotions, because just converting into sound doesn't add much. So how do we kind of add emotions? Or so when I say emotions, basically tunes, and how different musical tunes or could connect to emotions, actually. So that's what we try to kind of do in this approach, actually.
Yeah, thank you. I've put the festival in the chat. It's a small city festival, but it's, I think, in the very much same type of goals of the artists.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes. It's some other questions or remarks to Rupesh? David?
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the presentation. I think the end result is very qualitative. It's the aspect and all that has been done. You can see that he has been made with a real purpose in mind and skills. And so it's thank you. It was very, very interesting. And I think it would be interesting to have your device. I don't know what's the word. Your creation. Is it possible to have it traveling in other places? Because I think that we have other projects in other European areas, and I think it would be very interesting to do that connection, because again, the result is highly qualitative, even though we still have to see the impact on how people reacted. And I think that what has been said, that people experience first and then try, maybe hopefully, to understand what's going on. But I think it's very, very, very interesting.
Thank you. And I think we have made it in such a way that we can reuse it. So, and that was our goal from the beginning. So it's very much with us. We are looking at new venues to kind of, and new venues, as well as venues would have data, good data to kind of transform into this. So of course, yeah, we would be happy to explore possibilities.
Because I do have a few projects in mind where they have APIs around air quality and other topics, and again, I think that because of what you've made, it's very highly valuable. So it could be interesting. Do you have like a website that presents the whole thing instead of just the PowerPoint or videos that I could share?
Unfortunately not, because we haven't documented the final outcome also in a good quality video form. We will try to do that pretty soon, but I can share some more videos after this presentation of the actual people using, and then from their own phones they kind of took the video. So they have shared with us, actually. So I will share some of those videos with you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sorry about the videos. The last video of the for the slide doesn't work. The video said it's necessary to access or let me the access. I don't know.
Okay, I will kind of, because they are all in my Google Drive, so
Yes,
I will
yeah,
kind
there are a couple of videos that I also couldn't access. I think it's the last one in the page
Yes,
40.
last.
Really
Thanks.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. So if maybe then if there are no more questions, and now we are like 2 minutes left, that this has been really like a beautiful talk, really inspirational. And I really hope that from here there's networking, and also like your sculpture or your creation can travel to other places, and also like contribute to create awareness and raise interest in the topic of indoor and outdoor air pollution. And yes, so that's all from my side. And maybe Kostas, would you like to say something?
So many thanks to you guys and to all colleagues being present. I really hope that this type of meetings can help everybody in fostering collaborations, exchange ideas. We should remind ourselves of the fact that we are after not only research collaboration, but also academic collaboration. This is a very nice opportunity that we can investigate this type of opportunities. So many thanks to everybody.
Yes, many thanks. And before everybody leaves, I also would like to remind you, if you have at all you would like to give or present a project, an activity, an idea, or have someone in your network that would like to do that, please let us know, Hester or myself, and we will be really happy to listen to many voices and many ideas. It doesn't. So please send us an email so we can have a list of activities for 2022. And without further, I wish you all a nice Friday and a nice weekend, and see you next month for our working group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.